and welcome to The Big Picture. I am Teena Jha. The Parliament passed the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi's Amendment Bill, with the Rajya Sabha clearing it on Wednesday. The Upper House passed the bill with an 83-45 vote, following several hours of heated debate and walkout by several parties, including the Congress, the BJD, the YSR Congress, and also the Samajwadi Party. This bill seeks to amend the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Act of 1991. Now, it provides that the term government referred to in any law made by the Legislative Assembly of Delhi will imply the Lieutenant Governor. It also prohibits the Legislative Assembly of Delhi from making any rule to enable itself or its committees to consider the matters of day-to-day administration of the National Capital Territory of Delhi. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze what the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Bill entails and which are the provisions that are being opposed by members of the opposition parties. Joining me on the program are Mr. P.K. Malhotra, former Secretary, Ministry of Law and Justice, Government of India, and Mr. Desh Ratan Nigam, his advocate of the Supreme Court. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on The Big Picture today. Mr. Nigam, let me begin the program with you. So the bill has now been passed by both houses of parliament. When it becomes an act, what are the changes that it will bring about in the manner in which the national capital is governed?
Teena ji, there are two aspects of this bill. One is the process taken up by the parliament, and another is the substance of the bill. Now, the process of the parliament is very clear. The government of NCT Delhi came into existence because of the bill of 1991. By way of constitutional amendment by the parliament. So parliament has the power to pass the amendments and to make changes in the structures or the governance of the Delhi. Now, second aspect is why this process was taken up. This process was taken up because of the 2019 judgment where the Supreme Court two judges bench observed there are ambiguities and certain clarifications are required, and therefore instead of they themselves, clarifying those ambiguities and shedding light on the clarifications, as they did not want to get into the legislative domain. They therefore asked the government to remove those ambiguities and bring out clarifications. In this backdrop, this bill has come by the central government in order to have certain clarifications and removing the ambiguities. Now, the third aspect which is there is the substance of this bill. Now, this bill does not take away any of the powers of the Legislative Assembly. Nothing has been taken away from them. The positions remains, except that it tries to clarify the role of the Lieutenant Governor comes here as a checks and balances. I'll give you two examples here. During the so-called farmers' agitation, the Delhi police's buses were taken away. So this was directly affecting the law and order situation in Delhi, which is the domain of the central government through Lieutenant Governor. So that situation should never arise in Delhi because it's a unique place. It belongs to the whole of the country and it has to be governed properly, and there should be clear law and order out here. Second is an issue during the pandemic time. If you recall, there was so much of mismanagement of the migrant workers. And all the migrant workers were pushed to Delhi on account of certain rumors spread by the people in the government. And the government of UP was forced to take and apply buses and to take them into their own state and send them across the country. And therefore, these are two glaring examples where the issue which was actually under the domain of the Delhi government, they themselves, mismanaged, and such kind of situation should never arise. Now it proposes to amend section 21, 24, 33 and 44 of 1991 Act. Now it prevents the Delhi government to have any kind of a discretion as to what proposal will be put to the Lieutenant Governor and what proposals will not be put. Here, the Lieutenant Governor is not like a mere rubber stamp. He will see if there is any contradiction between the powers that the Assembly has or it does not have. It cannot encroach. And we also know there is Article 239 AA subclause 4, which gives power to the Lieutenant Governor to reserve any bill for the consideration of the President if there is any difference of opinion with respect to subjects which do not fall within the domain of the Legislative Assembly. Now, this this particular power, there was a lot of ambiguity. So it has tried to clarify it. And therefore nobody can say it is unconstitutional. It is perfectly constitutional in my opinion. Secondly, there is an issue that you cannot criticize in your own assembly someone who's not present or someone who is not a part of your assembly, or the subjects which are there, which are not even there within your legislative domain. So this is also one of the biggest issues which was there. So overall, I will say there are others which I will come later. There are various other issues, but overall, I believe for the smooth functioning and for improving the quality of Delhi, it is absolutely necessary that there are checks and balances in the system, and that is where the role of the Lieutenant Governor would be as a friend, philosopher, and guide for the Delhi government. See, every law is prone to misuse. There is no law says that it should be misused, but however, for some reason, if it is being misused, we have Supreme Court and the High Court to look into it, and we have a well-established judicial process for redressal of grievances. But I have not yet seen it is being misused.
Okay, Mr. Malhotra. So, not taking away the powers of the elected government, only clarifying certain ambiguities with regard to the role of the Lieutenant Governor and for smooth functioning of the administration here in Delhi. So then, why are opposition parties opposed to certain provisions in the bill, and which are the features in this particular bill that remain contentious?
Teena, Delhi has a population of more than 2 crore people, and they definitely deserve a good governance. And good governance only comes when there is a clarity in the law or the legal provision under which they are governed. Now, talking about the amendments made in the NCT of Delhi Act of 1991, the first question that arises, and Mr. Deshratan has also dealt with it, whether the parliament has got power to amend that law. Yes, I agree with him that the central government, the parliament, has power to amend that law under Article 239AA Clause 7. The parliament has got every power to amend that law for the administration of Delhi. That is with regard to the power. Now, as I said about the good governance, Delhi has a peculiar history because this is the headquarter of the central government. It is the seat of power of the central government. Now, why in 2014 a matter went to the Supreme Court, which was referred to the Constitution Bench, and the Constitution Bench was required to interpret Article 239AA with regard to the power of the Lieutenant Governor, the government of NCT of Delhi, and the central government. You know, at that time, the government issued notices, the anti-corruption branch of Delhi government issued notices and started investigation against some of these central government officers and even the ministers. I think when that was done, the Home Ministry clarified the position that Delhi being a union territory and 3 subjects having been reserved to Delhi to the central government, that is the public order, police, and the land, it is the central government which has got control over all these things, and Delhi government cannot issue any order in that regard. To that extent, when the Delhi government went to the Constitution, to the Supreme Court by way of a Constitution bench clarified and interpreted the law as given in Article 239AA, under which the Legislative Assembly has been constituted, and parallelly the NCT of Delhi Act 1991 was passed. While clarifying the law, the Supreme Court very clearly said that there is a Council of Ministers to aid and advise the Lieutenant Governor, and the Lieutenant Governor is bound by the advice of the government, by the Council of Ministers. Secondly, pre-consultation with the governor was not necessary, and governor is only to be informed. Now, this is a decision given by the Constitution Bench, but the petition was not disposed of by the Constitution Bench. It was referred back to the 2 judges bench, which in 2019 gave certain interpretation. 2 judges differed. Matter is still pending before the Supreme Court. Mr. Deshratan mentioned about that judgment. Now, because of this chaotic situation and because the 2019 judgment is not a finality because the 2 judges differed and the matter is still before the Supreme Court, probably government thought, why not to clarify the position? Now, by way of interpreting the judgment of the Supreme Court, which is yet to acquire a finality, Probably the lieutenant governor has been given more power by the central government as compared to an elected government. Probably that is the bone of contention, and that is why the opposition parties are saying that when there is an elected government, then why the elected government's mandate should not be respected, and lieutenant governor, who is only a representative of the president, should be given more power. I think the matter will again go back to the Supreme Court. This is my feeling. Matter will again go back to the Supreme Court, and probably on this amendment again, the Supreme Court will have to give its verdict.
Okay, so on the scrutiny of courts, I'll come back to you with another question. But for the moment, let me go back to Mr. Nigam and take on from where you left. So when you said that Delhi has a population of 2 crore and the opposition is arguing that when they have elected a government by exercising their democratic right to vote, Mr. Nigam, wouldn't it be unfair to this huge population who have elected the government, but their elected government is now being overpowered by the lieutenant governor, because in effect, government means the lieutenant governor?
Teena Ji, one thing is very clear, that even the executive head of the central government is the president, and that of the state government is the governor. So this is merely a nomenclature, not that the powers have been taken away. Here, the head would be the lieutenant governor. Therefore, it means lieutenant governor means government. It is in that sense it has been brought about. Now, secondly, so far as the tussle between the opposition and the central government which is going on, let us be very clear, it is the parliament which has passed the law, not the central government. The parliament is the elected representatives, and they represent the will of the people of this country, and Delhi is being unique and extraordinary in the sense it belongs to the entire country. So therefore, they have applied their mind and passed this law. So there is a smooth functioning, as also pointed out by Mr. Malhotra. Now, everybody seems to be forgetting that the 2018 judgment clearly said that Delhi cannot be given the status of a state like any other state. Therefore, the name of the Delhi government is Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi. Not government of, like in any other state, state of Uttar Pradesh or state of Uttarakhand or state of Madhya Pradesh. So it is not a state. Even the Supreme Court reaffirmed this fact. It's not a state. It's not a complete state. It is a union territory, and Delhi is given under the chapters of union territory in the constitution itself. So therefore, there should not be any confusion. People think it's a complete, it has complete statehood. It is not. And therefore, such kind of changes can always be brought about. Now, one of the important, aspect which is also there, that the assembly or its committees or the government of Delhi cannot initiate inquiries by itself or through its select committee, which is in consonance with the 2019 judgment, where it says administrative inquiries and commissions can be only set up by the central government through LG. So that is in consonance with that. So there's nothing new. And also another provision which is there, that they will adopt the rules of conduct and behavior of the Lok Sabha. Those rules are perfect. Over the 70 years period, they have evolved over a period of time, and therefore they will be implemented in letter and spirit in the Delhi Assembly as well. So there is nothing wrong. I think instead of making a furor, a general furor over that our powers have been taken away, one has to go step by step and see what is there inside. And to say that we will not adopt the rules of conduct and procedures of Lok Sabha, I mean, that's absolutely bizarre. Though they have been functioning in wonderfully, you have also rules of conduct in Rajya Sabha also, and they have been functioning perfectly. Delhi is evolving, is still evolving in the sense of law functioning of the assembly. Say, for example, it passes a proposal with respect to a law which is not within their domain. Say, for example, CAA was passed. Now, if the Delhi Assembly started discussing it, it is not within their domain. It is not even within their legislative domain or powers to discuss that, but they will do that and send a proposal to the Lieutenant Governor. So Lieutenant Governor will be well within its rights not to even consider it, even because it is not within their legislative powers. So all these things have to be kept in mind. This brings in confrontation with the central government, and administering Delhi is the responsibility of both the central government and the Delhi government. So this confrontation has to be avoided, and therefore for harmonious functioning of the Delhi, you require certain checks and balances, and that is where the role of the Lieutenant Governor will come into the picture. And Lieutenant Governor, has been seen in the past, are very serious, experienced people, senior I mean, and therefore they will apply their wisdom and mind to see that nothing is done which is not within the domain or legislative powers or which is unlawful. And we have to avoid that anarchy in Delhi, as we saw in the first, stint of our chief minister in Delhi, where the chief minister had started sitting on a dharna near boat club. So those are the things that have to be avoided. Those are the places which are absolutely necessary for governance. That area requires the movement of senior bureaucrats and ministers. So you can't stop the functioning of that particular area. And it is for these issues that had arisen in the past which has brought about the necessity of bringing these changes. Yes, Delhi government or any party affected can go to the Supreme Court or the Delhi High Court. They have the powers to go there under the process of judicial review, and the courts will look into it. But in my opinion, personal opinion, I feel it is absolutely necessary for a smooth functioning of the Delhi.
Okay, Mr. Malhotra. So when we talk about the Supreme Court, the last time the Supreme Court gave its ruling and the Constitution bench clearly observed that the elected representatives of the Council of Ministers of Delhi, because they are accountable to the voters of Delhi, must have the appropriate powers so that they perform their functions effectively and also efficiently. Now, the ruling party's contention now after this amended bill is that if the elected government has no powers, has no say in the day-to-day administration, which is also being taken care by the LG, how will the national capital be different from the other UTs that have no assembly?
Again, I think we have to look at the legislative history of Delhi. I start with 1952, when you had a chief minister in Delhi, and probably he was not in good relation with the home minister. Therefore, he had to resign in 1955. Initially, when the constitution was framed, the territories in Delhi were divided into A, B, C, and D category, and Delhi was put in category C, which was administered through a chief commissioner. And in 1955, when he resigned, in 56, when the states were reorganized, either it was a state or a union territory. Delhi was again declared a union territory and was being administered through a chief commissioner. It was only in 1966 that Delhi Administration Act was passed and a metropolitan council with limited power was brought into force, so that the people of Delhi also get a representation, and this metropolitan council can make a recommendation to the central government with regards to the laws to be made. This process, but there was always a demand for full statehood for Delhi, and for reasons which are well known, because it's the seat of the central government. Obviously, you can't have two parallel governments running in the same territory, because definitely the conflict will arise. Therefore, it was thought, and there was a well thought of, there was a committee, Balakrishna Committee, which gave a report. Based on that report in 1991, the 69th Amendment to the Constitution was brought, and National Capital Territory of Delhi Act was also passed, and Delhi was given assembly again with limited power at certain areas which were important for, because being a seat of central government, were reserved for the central government. But that doesn't mean that the Delhi's people doesn't deserve an elected government. But if elected government is going beyond the powers given to it, then obviously the central government has a right, it being a union territory which is administered by the president on the aid and advice of the council of ministers, to give a direction through its representative lieutenant governor. To what extent those powers can go, now this amendment bill of 2021 has made a lieutenant governor more powerful as compared to the elected government, and that is the bone of contention. Now, I raise a question here for consideration of the people. From when 1991 this act was passed, it's 30 years now. For 30 years, only during the last 8 or 10 years, probably this issue has arisen, or rather has come to the forefront, and matter has gone to the Supreme Court. Prior to that also, there has been government of different parties at the center and the state, but this kind of question has not arisen, because at that time, the government probably they probably came to an amicable solution because either in the center it was a coalition government, and in the state also it was not a government which enjoyed a kind of, you can say, full majority. Therefore, that could arise. But today we are at a situation where both the parties at the center and the state have got complete majority, and they want to exercise full power given to them under the constitution as well as the law passed by the parliament. The single question which I raise here is, had there been the same party government in the central government, in the parliament, and in the state government, would such a legislation been brought? I think that is the question probably on which people will be debating, and probably that will be one of the issues maybe which is, when it comes for consideration before the legal forums, probably legal forum may also deliberate on this particular issue.
Absolutely. And the ruling party has made itself very clear it will, in the days to come, knock the doors of the Supreme Court. So, Mr. Nigam, looking back at the ruling of the Supreme Court the last time, the court had delineated the boundaries of power between the LG and the Delhi government, and it had said in its judgment that the LG cannot interfere in each and every decision of the Delhi government, and the LG is bound by the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers of the Delhi government, except, of course, in matters of land, police, and public order. So, could this time, what kind of scrutiny can this amended bill come before the Supreme Court, if at all? And could the court also consult the previous ruling that it gave in 2018?
It will be only a 2-judge bench or a 3-judge bench, then it would be bound by the Constitution bench judgment. And Constitution judgment laid down broader principles, and the specific issues, as rightly pointed out by Mr. Malhotra, was referred to a 2-judge bench. Now, 2-judge bench further referred about one specific issue about the administrative control of services, whether it lies with the central government or with the Delhi government. That matter is being referred to a larger bench, which is a 3-judge bench, and it's still pending. It has not yet been decided. So it has not, the chapter has not yet been closed. Yes, the Delhi government will obviously go and challenge that they are encroaching upon their powers. But again, let me reiterate that through examples also, as Mr. Malhotra also said, that when in the past a metro project was brought in Delhi, the BJP government was at the center, the NDA I would say, and in Delhi there was Sheila Dikshit's government. There was no problem, perfect coordination, and things were done. However, what is happening today is kind of confrontation and kind of a situation which you may call it as anarchy. That situation has to be avoided, and that is where the role of the LG comes into the picture. He is not taking away anybody's power, but he will use his discretion. If the proposal, suppose the proposal is for having not giving any buses to the Delhi police when it requires for enforcing law and order. Now Delhi police is under the central government, and the Delhi government does not provide the assistance, necessary assistance for maintaining law and order. What should be done here? So that proposal, if it comes to the LG, in my opinion, he will not give permission to that proposal. So these are the situation, not that the LG is going to interfere in each and every decision. These are the situations that have to be avoided. So there is a smooth functioning, and being a capital also, it has embassies, it has so many places that dignitaries come from outside. So it has to be very smooth and it has to be peaceful. Now, the main New Delhi, which is run by the New Delhi Municipal Corporation, now that is outside the domain of the Delhi government, and therefore they are very clear. But there are obviously issues which relate to the other side also, the other places also. So in my opinion, again, I would reiterate that the LG, being a very senior person, is not going to interfere in day-to-day functioning of the government. Yes, when the issues come to him, when there is a difference of opinion, he can apply his mind and he can reserve it for the consideration of the president, or he may return it to the government again, that proposal. That you have the same kind of principle which is available with the president. Although you have government of India duly elected, say for example, when the proposal goes to the president for appointment of judges to the Supreme Court or the Delhi High or any other high court for that matter, the president has power to return the names back. So similarly, the proposals can be returned. They can again be sent back with necessary changes to be made. the accountability will remain with the people of Delhi government. There is no doubt about it with respect to the subjects which are within their domain. Nobody has been, again I am reiterating, nobody has taken away their powers. It is only checks and balances which has come here for a smooth functioning of the National Capital Territory of Delhi.
Okay, Mr. Malhotra, so looks like this tussle is clearly headed to go to the court. But is legal recourse the only option? Can the central government, because the intent is very clear. Both of you have said in the early years there was no need for such a legislation because even if there were different governments in Delhi and at the center, the issues used to be resolved amicably, which unfortunately is not the case anymore. And that is why this legislation had to be brought in, because to check in anarchy, considering that this is the national capital and home to several embassies, to all, the parliament is here. But in that context, can the central government do something else to reassure the elected government that their powers are not being taken away?
Teena, I think cooperative federalism is one of the, again, I would say, although not specifically said, it is also, again, a basic feature of the constitution where the sentiments of the elected government should be respected. But if the elected government is exercising power beyond the power given to it under the constitution or under the law made by the parliament, then parliament has all the right to take the corrective measures. Now, coming back to the question which you had earlier put with regard to the earlier Supreme Court judgment in the Constitution bench and the law now passed by the Parliament, I mean, as a student of law, as a practitioner of law, it is my understanding of the law that whatever the Constitution bench has said has probably been undone by this amendment passed by the Parliament to the NCT of Delhi Act, and for which they have given the reason that they are interpreting the law, and in the process of interpretation, they have clarified that LG will be enjoying more power because of the strategic situation in which Delhi is situated. If with that take into account, then really I think there is no way you can say that Delhi people of Delhi can have a kind of independent elected government as is available in other states. Because one thing, Delhi is not a state, it is a union territory. Second thing, it is a power or it is a seat of the central government. Therefore, that kind of government cannot be contemplated based on the past experience of governance which we have seen.
Also, Mr. Nikam, one last question from you, because it is headed to the courts clearly. Till what extent can the courts interfere in matters that are clearly related to the legislature? Because this legislation we've been talking about, that it's been brought with good intent, the powers are not being taken away, but at the same time, to make sure that there is no anarchy ever again in the national capital, this had to be brought in. But in matters, such sensitive issues, till what extent can the courts go?
See, courts can obviously, they have the power under judicial review to strike down any amendment or the other, any amendments within this Amendment Act. And therefore, they have the powers, there's no doubt about it. But the fact remains, if you look at the harmonious relationship between the two governments has to be there. And the 2018-19 judgment itself has very clearly said that both the parties maintain peace and work together in mutual respect. And that is what is absolutely necessary. Delhi being a unique place, both the governments do not have to confront each other. They have to work closely. If there are differences, they have to sort it out. And within this amendment act, I don't think there will be a possibility of confrontation and anarchy, because the parties have to work together. You have to explain it to the Lieutenant Governor, what is your intention. And therefore, I somehow feel it is more political rather than constitutional or legal.
Okay, so with that, I'll have to call it a wrap of this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to both my guests for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us and our viewers. Pleasure having you on the show today. So that's it from us on this edition of The Big Picture. Just in case you've missed the television broadcast, let me remind you, you can also watch it on YouTube and Twitter, and you can get back to us with your feedback and suggestions. Thank you for your time.